Hi Cameron, today is Christmas Day, but before I get on with my actual video, today's book recommendation is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Robert Sabuda. I'm not sure how you pronounce that name, but anyway, it's a gorgeous pop-up book with, just great illustrations. I recommend you get it. And now on with the actual video. So now I'm going to retell to you from memory the story of Christmas as I remember hearing it in church on such regular basis. I'm not reading anything off there. There's just a chord chart because I'm trying to learn ukulele. By the way, I got a ukulele today. I think that's cool. But anyway, right, Christmas. So really the story kind of starts at the very beginning. Well, not the very beginning, but a few, not long after the beginning of the Bible with Adam and Eve. You see, Adam and Eve were the first two humans in Christian mythology, and God created them, and he told them that he put them in this big garden called the Garden of Eden, and he was like, okay, you can eat in any of the garden except for this one tree in the middle. This is the tree of knowledge, and please don't touch it. That was the only command that God gave to the first two humans. But then, a snake came up to Eve, the first woman, and said, hey, he told you not to eat that fruit, but, that's also the best fruit. It's the cool fruit. The reason he won't let you eat there is because it's the fruit of knowledge, and you would have the knowledge of good and evil like he does if you ate it. And so Eve is like, well, geez, I better eat this fruit. And so she eats it, and then she gets Adam to eat it, and then they are given the knowledge of good and evil, and they become self-conscious, and they become aware that they are naked, and because they now know shame, when they hear God coming through the garden, they go, oh crap, God's coming, we're naked, we better hide ourselves from him. And so they go and hide in a bush, and God's like, why are you hiding in the bush? Why are you doing this? This is weird. Oh my God, did you eat from the tree of knowledge? And they're like, well, yeah. And he goes to Adam, because Adam is the man, and so it's his job, or whatever. And he's like, Adam, why did you eat the fruit? And Adam's like, well, Eve tricked me. And Eve is like, well, the serpent tricked me. I can't talk today. And so God's like, okay, for what you have done, you have to leave the, Garden of Eden, and you have to die one day for what you have done. That is your ultimate punishment for the sins you have committed. And so that's important because it's the reason Jesus happened, basically. So the actual story of Jesus goes something like this. It had been prophesied for as long as Judaism had existed, basically, that one day a savior would come and free them from their sins. And so, the angel Gabriel, who is God's messenger angel, he's the one that is the direct line between God and humans most of the time. God very rarely talks directly to humans. He usually sends a message through the angel Gabriel. And anyway, the angel Gabriel is sent to Mary, who is this nice young woman living in Jewish Rome. It was Rome. She lived in the Roman Empire. In Judea, which was the Jewish area. And he's like, Mary, you are going to be holy and praised by all generations. And Mary's like, who the crap are you? Why are you talking to me like this? This is weird. And the angel's like, well, don't be afraid. Here's what's basically going to happen. You're going to have a son, and his name is going to be Jesus, and he is going to be the Savior, and you are going to be praised by all generations. And also, your cousin, who is old and everyone thought was barren, is also going to bear a son. And so that's where we get the story, or the origin story of John the Baptist. And after Mary has been told all this, she sings something that's called the Magnificat, which is a canticle, which means it's basically a psalm, but it's not in the book of Psalms. Anyway, after that, God goes to Joseph in a dream and tells him what's going on. Joseph is this nice young man who was marrying Mary. He was engaged to Mary. She was the love of his life. And God's like, she is going to do all this stuff. And Joseph's kind of like, okay. And so, we don't see a lot of Mary or Joseph until much later, at close to the end of the pregnancy. I would like to add right now, though, that while Mary is often described as meek and mild, I would like everyone to keep in mind that as a pregnant woman who was not yet married to the man to whom she was engaged, she could have been stoned to death just for going in public. Just brief message. Brave, holy mother. Anyway, and so then we see them, like, when it's actually almost time. And basically, the emperor of Rome at the time decided that they were going to register the world. They were going to take, basically, a census. And you had to go to your hometown to be registered and pay taxes. And that was whatever. And so Mary and Joseph are going to the town of Bethlehem, which is the city of David, because, what's his name? Joseph was descended from the house of David, and so he had to go to Bethlehem to pay his taxes and be registered, him and his wife. And so, but then Mary's like, oh crap, it's time to have this baby. And so they try to go to the inn, but there is no room in the inn. So instead they go to a stable, or, no, not a manger. They go to a stable where animals are, and she has the baby, obviously. And because there's no crib, because they're not in the inn, they're in the stable, she lays him in a manger, or a stall, which is basically a feeding trough. It was a thing that the hay was inside of, that the animals ate out of, and she laid him in that, and that's where you get the image of baby Jesus laying in the hay and straw. And so that's all fine and good. And then, a holy star, I don't remember what it's called, begins rising over this holy child who has just been born. And that's cool. And so word starts spreading about this new Jesus guy, or not the Jesus guy, but this new baby who has been born and who is like this big going to be this big holy figure, because people know something weird is going on when stars start moving for certain babies' births. And so this king, whose name I don't remember, is like, I'm actually a little frightened by this. And so he tells these three wise men, these three kings from the Far East, relative to, basically from Asia Minor, or Asia, I guess, and he says, go check out what's happening. And so these three wise men go, and they bring gifts. And their three famous gifts, you probably know this bit, even if you don't celebrate Christmas, are gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Gold we understand, but the other two I'm going to explain to you. Frankincense is a kind of, like, I think it's resin. I have some somewhere, but I can't find it recently. But basically you burn it like in incense, and so it's incense, and it was very expensive at the time, and it was a nice thing to have. And then the other thing was myrrh, which is actually oil for burial. The same way we embalm people, you would do that back then. And myrrh was the oil that was used for that. And so, kind of a dark symbol to bring to a newborn baby, but that's what they did. And so, all these shepherds and these kings and wise men are all abandoning everything. The shepherds are abandoning their flocks to come see this baby. And this is where we get the scene of the Nativity. And that's basically the story of Christmas. Probably didn't make a lot of sense. I don't care, man. Christmas is a day off for us all. Thank you. That is all. I'll talk to you tomorrow, and hopefully I will have at some point learned how to play this.